This man had just been released from prison, and the entire New York underworld was immediately thrown into chaos. His name was Bumpy Johnson, the man who had controlled Harlem for decades. Even the 5 most powerful mafia families at that time had to acknowledge his supremacy. But 10 years earlier, he had been sent to Alcatraz for drug possession. During that time, much of the territory that once belonged to Bumpy had been taken over by Fat Gino, who relied on the mafia to claim more than half of it. To make matters worse, upon hearing that Bumpy was out, Fat Gino sent his men to break the leg of Bumpy's trusted lieutenant, clearly a show of dominance. But as the former king of Harlem's underworld, Bumpy wasn't afraid. Without wasting words, he summoned 2 of his men and headed straight for Gino's turf. "Hands up, all of you," he said. "Hands up, move it. Hurry up. What are you staring at?" Once his men subdued the guards outside, Bumpy stormed in alone. Inside was a small-scale drug lab. As Bumpy stepped forward, Fat Gino himself emerged. "You've got some nerve. You've got a death wish, showing up here alone. This is Bumpy Johnson. He's a legend." Facing Bumpy's angry accusations, Gino not only ignored him but also provoked him further, signaling that times had changed. Bumpy should just stay home and retire. Bumpy raised his gun. "But I haven't changed." That shot marked the official declaration of war with Fat Gino. However, after deliberation, the other crime bosses decided to spare Bumpy's life. Because he never ratted anyone out when he was caught, his sentence was extended by 8 years. For that alone, he deserves protection. In the end, Fat Gino had to back off under pressure from the other families. But Bumpy wasn't idle either. Back in the day, he had always taken a cut from Harlem's drug profits. Now that Gino had seized everything, Bumpy had to act. He sought out his old friend Malcolm, a former gang member who had once been close to him but later turned his life around and became a pastor fighting for black civil rights. They went to a rundown community, one of Gino's distribution points, where countless black locals had been harmed. Malcolm had always wanted to shut the place down, but even with manpower, they were unarmed and powerless against Gino's men. Hearing this, Bumpy calmly said,
"I got guns. I got soldiers. Business is business, can't leave no witness."
After countless clashes, Gino lost a lot of business. Furious, he gathered his men to strike back.
"You're all dead right now. I'm looking at dead men, every one of you."
"What took you so long?"
Just as both sides were about to explode, Bumpy appeared. He arrogantly waved at the sniper positioned on the rooftop, then prepared to negotiate, but one reckless thug provoked him.
Go ahead. Take some notes. This is
Luckily, the opposing boss intervened in time to save the thug's life. Despite the heated tension, neither side dared to fire first, because any bloodshed would bring down the wrath of the 5 families. But Gino wouldn't just sit back and watch his territory get cleaned out. The next day, while Bumpy was dining with his family at a restaurant, he spotted a suspicious black man lurking outside. He drew his gun and stepped out to confront him. Bumpy fired back ferociously, forcing the assassin to flee in panic. Finding a stranger in Harlem was child's play for Bumpy. Before long, his men caught the hitman. Unfortunately, the man was stubborn and refused to speak despite brutal interrogation. Out of options, they called in Big Dick Buster. "He's all yours." Under Buster's merciless methods, the assassin cracked in less than a minute. "The one who sent me is Fat Gino's cousin." Bumpy immediately stormed into his enemy's hideout. After dealing with the cousin, he approached a Blackstreet boss nearby, proposing an alliance to fight Gino, but the man mocked Bumpy's product as impure and politely refused. That sealed his fate. He didn't live to see another day. Afterward, Bumpy calmly ordered his men to clean up. This incident reminded him that if he wanted to stand firm again, he needed a reliable supply of high-quality product. Meanwhile, one of Gino's dealers was caught by police in a black neighborhood. 2 narcotics agents showed up, took the dealer and the drugs, and promised to turn everything in, but instead, they sold the drugs themselves. Gino took advantage of this and made a deal with the agents, frame Bumpy for prison, and each agent would earn $50,000. The next day, while Bumpy was in the middle of a deal, "Hands up, don't move. He said if I didn't set you up, he'd kill my wife and kids. I'm sorry. You're under arrest for drug possession and murder." It turned out the agents had set him up, but at the station, Bumpy ran into an old acquaintance, now promoted to captain. Seeing Bumpy's connection with the boss, the crooked agents barked at him to shut up, but Bumpy had already prepared. His men had caught them stealing evidence in the black neighborhood. With that evidence, the entire narcotics unit could be taken down. Cornered, they had no choice but to release him. Now, Bumpy's top priority was finding a steady supply. Just as he was at a loss, one of his men gave him a crucial hint. The police evidence room has more stash than any gang warehouse. Soon after, Bumpy called his old friend, the narcotics captain. After a short talk, they struck a deal. Moments later, a bag of pure, high-quality powder was tossed out the back door of the police station. As expected, the stash ended up in Bumpy's hands, while the two crooked agents became the fall guys. But of course, Fat Gino wasn't about to give up so easily. Not long after, during an international boxing match, Fat Gino saw an opportunity. On the surface, it was just two fighters squaring off, but behind the scenes it was a chess match between the major crime families. Representing the black community was Jonas, while the undefeated Ali represented the white side. Even before the fight began, the air was thick with tension. At this critical moment, Ali sought out Malcolm, the man he admired. It turned out Ali was a Muslim and wanted to speak up for his people, just like Malcolm, but at that time, America was deeply prejudiced against Muslims. If Ali revealed his faith, he would lose his right to compete. Malcolm urged him to keep his faith private until after he became a boxing champion, because having a black heavyweight champion alone would send a powerful message of resistance. However, they didn't know the FBI had been wiretapping Malcolm for a long time. Through certain connections, Fat Gino's men managed to get the recording of their conversation. After listening to it, Gino came up with a plan to make money. That night, Ali was ambushed and captured by some of Gino's thugs. They threatened him with the recording, demanding that he throw the match to Jonas. That way, Gino could rig the outcome and make a fortune. Desperate, Ali went to see Bumpy Johnson. As a professional boxer, he couldn't stomach the idea of taking a dive. Through a heartfelt conversation, Bumpy was moved by Ali's resolve. He saw his younger self in this stubborn young fighter. Finally, he made his stance clear. "Go fight, I'll handle the tape." "Thank you." When the match day came, the big players nervously watched from the stands. Gino was brimming with confidence, convinced he had Ali cornered, but he didn't know that at that very moment, Bumpy's men had infiltrated his hideout, taken out the guards, and retrieved the tape. With the tape gone, Ali fought with everything he had and won the championship. The crime bosses in the stands each wore a different expression. Gino, on the other hand, suffered a heavy loss and silently glared at Bumpy. Deep down, he knew Ali could fight freely only because the Godfather had his back, and next, Bumpy would pay in blood. The following day, on Bumpy's turf, while some of his men were unloading a shipment, by the time Bumpy got the news and rushed over, all he found were lifeless bodies. It was clearly Gino's doing, but Bumpy wasn't someone to mess with easily. Hearing that Gino was running a lottery operation, Bumpy decided to cut in. At the time, New York's lottery was simple. People would pick 3 numbers, and if those numbers matched the last 3 digits of that day's racetrack sales total, they'd win, with payouts dozens of times over. Coincidentally, during the Washington Civil Rights March, many people bought 828 as their lucky number in commemoration of the day. When Gino heard Bumpy was running his own lottery, he immediately hatched a plan. That night, one of his men approached a racetrack employee. After luring him to a secluded spot, the thug pulled a gun, threatening and bribing him into cooperation. The next morning, seeing so many bets on 828, Bumpy had a bad feeling. His confidant warned him that Gino had refused to sell any 828 tickets, but it was too late. At the Racetrack Association, the bribed employee secretly altered the sales figures, changing them to 828. Gino's scheme succeeded. By calculation, Bumpy lost over $300,000, more than his net worth. Though he could have found excuses to void the bets, as a godfather known for his integrity, Bumpy decided he would pay every winner even if he had to borrow the money. Out of options, Bumpy sought help from his wealthy ex-girlfriend. She agreed but demanded payment in a more intimate form. After a moment of inner conflict, Bumpy slipped away quietly while she went to fetch the check. With nowhere else to turn, he thought of Joe Bonanno, another powerful figure who also had past conflicts with Gino. This was the perfect time for an alliance. After negotiating, Bumpy not only secured a loan but also forged a partnership. But just as he was paying off the lottery winners, Gino showed up, waving his own 828 ticket in Bumpy's face. He also revealed that he knew about Bumpy's deal with Joe Bonanno and had already sent men to hijack the shipment. If successful, Bumpy would owe both $300,000 and a large shipment to Bonanno. "I'm the one on top of you now." With that, Gino swaggered out. Because of the Five Families' influence, Bumpy couldn't just kill him outright, no matter how furious he was. Back in his room, Bumpy could barely contain his rage. Luckily, soon after, an opportunity to turn the tide appeared. A key member of the Five Families was arrested, throwing their leaders into panic. More members were caught in quick succession. Within the families, someone proposed, if Bumpy could eliminate the informant who leaked to their rivals, his debt and his obligation to deliver the shipment to Bonanno would be erased. But killing someone under heavy FSB protection wasn't easy. Bumpy turned to his trusted ally, Vincent, hoping to locate the informant's hideout. Meanwhile, in a reopened court session, the informant exposed Gino's entire criminal network. The FSB quickly sent agents to Gino's house for questioning, but his wife led them into the bathroom.
You got a hat? Come on, you're gonna get wet. Come on.
It turned out Gino was faking insanity to avoid prison. Meanwhile, Vincent tracked down the informant's address and took Bumpy there to scout the area and plan the hit. That night, two black men posed as drunks to stir up trouble, drawing the attention of the guards. At this moment, the hired assassin slipped into a high-rise building. After eliminating a police officer, he made his way to the informant's room. But to his surprise, instead of his target, he found a couple playing poker. Clearly, the intel was wrong. When the assassin returned to report, Vincent realized the mistake. He had mixed up the room numbers, going to 6 instead of 8. The very next day, during the second court session, the informant cracked under pressure and revealed another key figure. Though this person wasn't part of the Five Families' main line, he was closely connected to their top leadership. The informant hesitated, unsure if he should name him. Meanwhile, Bumpy and others watched the events unfold on TV. Since the assassin had failed his mission, the high-ranking members assigned Bumpy a new task: eliminate the informant that was about to be exposed. Bumpy was at a loss for leads, until Fat Gino, his rival, unexpectedly provided crucial information. According to Gino's intel, the informant was none other than Vincent, Bumpy's longtime friend. It was hard to swallow, but Bumpy had to follow orders. Once he confirmed Vincent was the traitor, Bumpy waited until Gino was busy dealing with the police, then approached Joe Bonanno. He still wanted to secure Joe's high-quality supply. But Joe, still shaken from Gino's earlier warning, didn't dare betray him again. Cornered, Bumpy decided to sow discord between the two. He remembered that Joe Bonanno's son had once gone missing in Harlem, so he treated this as a breakthrough. Bumpy had his contacts in the police quietly investigate. Soon, they uncovered valuable information. 2 thugs were behind the disappearance, and the mastermind was Fat Gino. The problem was, there was no solid evidence. Then, an unexpected incident gave Bumpy an opening. A black woman was caught shoplifting. When the guards searched her, they found needle marks and concluded she was a junkie.
Curtis, relax. This junkie ain't gonna do shit.
They locked her up in a holding room, unaware she was Bumpy's daughter. While Bumpy was dining with a friend, one of his men rushed in and reported what happened. Furious that his daughter had been mistreated, Bumpy wanted to storm the store and kill the man responsible. Thankfully, Malcolm X was with him and offered a better plan. They arrived at the store, only to be stopped by police. "This is a police matter. Sir, step back or we'll call backup." "I think you should call backup now. Because my men are already here." With that, they pushed inside. While Bumpy confronted the store manager, "He raped me. I'll kill you, you bastard." Only when a gun was pointed at his head did Bumpy stop. She had lied, knowing Malcolm X would use the situation to rally support for the black community. Outside, the crowd of black onlookers grew restless, and Malcolm X seized the moment, stepping up to speak, igniting their anger and inspiring them to tear the store apart. Hearing about the incident, Gino arranged a meeting with Bumpy through family contacts. As the store belonged to him, Gino urged Bumpy to disperse the crowd and not escalate things further. This made Bumpy realize someone, or something, was being hidden in that store. He took advantage of the situation, demanding Gino hand over high-quality product. With no choice, Gino reluctantly agreed. Meanwhile, the protest outside escalated. Bumpy devised a plan: work with the police to stage a scene that would safely remove the white security guard, while Bumpy personally dealt with the black guard who committed the crime. For that man, Bumpy called in Big Dick Buster. "Say hello to Big Dick Buster. You might as well kill me." This incident gave Bumpy a chance to drive a wedge between Gino and Bonanno. Recalling Gino's nervous expression earlier that day, Bumpy was sure the store was hiding something. That night, he led his men to raid it. After searching everywhere, they only found a large, strange hole in the basement. It was suspicious, but not enough to convince others. Just as Bumpy was running out of ideas, Stella, Gino's daughter, approached him. In their conversation, he learned the truth. Gino had been controlling his daughter's life. Whenever he disapproved of Stella's boyfriend, he sent men to kill them. Her ex-boyfriend was Joe Bonanno's son. Now, learning she was dating a black man, Gino was at it again. Stella begged Bumpy to protect her boyfriend. Bumpy agreed, on one condition: She had to expose her father's crimes to Joe Bonanno. To save her lover, Stella agreed. With the basement hole as evidence and Stella's testimony, Joe Bonanno finally believed Bumpy. A bloody feast awaited Fat Gino. The next day, as Gino prepared to leave with his men, a massive explosion rocked the scene. 2 nearby black men were knocked down by the blast, while the driver was blown to pieces. Gino flew into a rage. First, his stronghold had been bombed so easily, which meant there was a mole in his gang. Second, the car was a family vehicle, his loved ones often rode in it. Planting a bomb like that was a direct threat to his family's lives. It was an act so ruthless that even in the criminal world, it sent chills down spines. At the height of Fat Gino's fury, one of his men caught a suspicious man lurking near the door, an underling from another crime syndicate. He confessed the reason behind the sudden war. Joe Bonanno had been investigating Gino and uncovered the truth, that years ago, Gino had murdered his son. With the truth exposed, the war between them was inevitable. As for Bumpy Johnson, who had repeatedly crossed him, Gino wasn't about to let that slide. While Bumpy was with his family, gunmen opened fire. Bumpy went down, but was rushed to the hospital in time to survive. By the time he was discharged, 3 weeks had passed. According to his men, Joe Bonanno and Gino had been locked in a brutal fight, with casualties on both sides. When Bumpy learned that Joe was using homemade bombs, he handed Nat an address to an apartment across from Gino's headquarters. He had arranged for it to be rented even before leaving the hospital. Now, with the war raging, it was the perfect chance to profit from the chaos. Even if Gino was taken out, suspicion would fall on Bonanno. Bumpy ordered his men to lie in wait on the top floor, ready to strike. But then, unexpectedly, Joe Bonanno called. Hearing that Bumpy was out of the hospital, Joe realized he might be plotting something. To avoid becoming a scapegoat, Joe threatened Bumpy through his family, demanding he stand down. Meanwhile, Del Chance, one of Bumpy's lieutenants, found an opportunity to strike, but at the critical moment, Bumpy hesitated. His daughter was with Gino. In the end, he called off the operation. He couldn't let Gino die in front of her. But Gino wasn't done. He sought out Frank Costello, a mediator for the Five Families. Together, they framed Bumpy, planting Joe Bonanno's son's remains on Bumpy's turf and accusing him of murder. They claimed Gino's daughter only testified because Bumpy had threatened her. That night, Bumpy was summoned to a rare meeting where the bosses of all 5 families were present, a council of the highest authority in New York's underworld. Faced with Gino's accusations, Bumpy admitted he had killed Gino's cousin, but explained it was self-defense. Gino had sent a hitman first. As for Joe Bonanno's son, he swore he knew nothing. But Frank Costello was furious, convinced Bumpy had lied to him. After deliberation, the 5 families ruled to punish Bumpy. However, Bumpy had seen this coming. Weeks ago, my people uncovered certain things involving many of you. Evidence that could lock you up for life. I am the biggest nightmare the underworld has ever seen. You mean to say you'd turn rat? You've seen the news, you know why the US and Russia never truly attack each other. Because both sides hold weapons that could destroy the other, just like I do. With that, Bumpy stood up and walked out, leaving the bosses stunned. But Gino still wouldn't give up. He approached Joe Bonanno again, proposing to hire an outside assassin. If Joe could sneak the man into Harlem without raising suspicion, Gino would handle the rest. Joe agreed. Soon after, a Sicilian mafia hitman arrived. Meanwhile, since defying the 5 families, Bumpy had managed to hold them at bay with his trump card, but for his family's safety, he arranged for his wife and young daughter to leave New York. He didn't know that the hitman, disguised as a police officer, was watching from afar. When Bumpy returned home alone, the assassin quietly followed. Hearing strange noises outside his door, Bumpy drew his gun. Gunfire erupted. The two fought, transitioning from shooting to hand-to-hand combat. Despite his experience, Bumpy's age showed. He was knocked out with a blow from a skillet. As he was on the verge of death, Elisa's eldest daughter arrived home. Seeing the man in a police uniform, she let her guard down. Bumpy narrowly survived. He immediately called Gino, the mastermind behind it all. Your friend's going home in a coffin. And you're next, I'll be the one to do it. It was a clear declaration of war against Gino. Upon hearing that Bumpy was still alive, Gino gathered the bosses of the 5 families. After deliberation, they agreed to unite and crush Bumpy once and for all. Soon, Bumpy faced relentless attacks from every direction. What will he do next to survive this deadly situation? That wraps up the entire season 1 of Godfather of Harlem. So, what do you think of this series? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.